So what are you after in your next shoe? Are you after a dedicated running shoe? Shoe comparison I've got for you guys today, we've got a battle of the Pegasus. So we've got the Nike Pegasus 41 up against the Pegasus Plus. So we're going to go through their similarities, their differences, and their key features. And hopefully from that, that's going to give you guys a great indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So both neutral running shoes here by Nike. Now checking out our quick specs here, you can see there's a big price difference between these two shoes. And you can see as the review goes on why that is warranted. Well, I certainly think it's warranted in this occasion. Now with the weight as well, fair difference in the weight. Can you feel that on the foot? Yes, you certainly can. The Pegasus Plus feels like the much lighter, more nimble shoe. Now this is the most interesting part of these specs here. So in the stack heights, so 37 in the rear, 27 in the front, that's a 10mm drop. Now with this shoe, I'd say that the rear feels about right at 37, but in the front, 27, this shoe feels much lower than that, and it actually looks much lower than that, especially when you can compare it to the stats on the Pegasus Plus. So this one is 35 in the rear, 25 in the front, giving us a 10mm drop. And as you can see there, the difference in the cushion in the front of these shoes is, say this one looks far cushier in the front of the shoe, and it actually feels far cushier, but it says it's got the lower drop. So I don't know what's going on there with Nike with their measuring, but this one feels like it's the way more cushioned shoe. It doesn't feel like the drop is 10mm as well, because the foam is so soft, it feels like the much more flatter shoe. But this shoe, yeah, feels like the pitch or the offset is much higher than 10mm. And with our uppers, so both very different things going on here. So we've got the base model, so the Peg 41, what they've got in their upper, engineered mesh is the material, but it actually feels quite premium. So this whole upper actually feels quite nice, especially for a Nike. So it's quite breathable and the material feels very comfortable just wrapping around the foot. Got a really solid heel counter here. We've got an Achilles flare, and I'm going to say we've got a plush amount of padding around the heel collar there, and certainly a plush amount of padding on the tongue. So it's very comfortable when you put your foot into the shoe. The tongue here is gusseted. Now with our lacing system, they don't use eyelets. They've got sort of these lace loops that I've seen in a few other Nike models as well, but they do a pretty good job to lock the foot down in this shoe. The lockdown in this is excellent. Now in the fit, this shoe for me measures true to size, and in the width, I'm going to say it's normal, but it's got a bit of a low volume in the toe box, but it doesn't really cause me any irritation. Now the difference here, what we get in the Peg Plus, totally different upper material. They use their fly knit, or a version of their fly knit here. But in general, it feels like the thicker material, but it actually feels more light and airy on the foot, believe it or not, over the 41. Now in the padding department, we've got slightly less padding in this version, so it's not as plush as the 41, but it's still quite nice. We've got a really thin tongue here, so no big plush padding like you're going to find in the other one. Nice and thin tongue. The tongue is not gusseted in this version, but the tongue and the materials feel quite nice. They feel quite premium. They sit nicely on top of the foot. I haven't had any issues with this tongue turning or bunching up on me when I'm trying to get my foot in it. Like the Pegasus 41, it's got a really solid heel counter as well. Now the lockdown in this shoe, no issues, just like the Peg 41, really nice. The fit in this shoe, again, true to size, just like the other shoe. However, there is a little bit more volume in this toe box, and I think the toe box is slightly wider. Well, that's the feeling that I get. I'm not sure if that's just because the material feels a little bit more compliant, that it feels wider in the toe box, but you certainly feel like you got a bit more room in this toe box over the 41. And in our outsoles here, so this is probably where these two shoes are most similar. So they both share that waffle outsole design that Nike is so famous for, and I'm pretty sure it's the same rubber compound as well. It looks the same, it feels the same. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments below. I think, but the real difference here is just how much rubber they've got on the bottom of each shoe. So this one, pretty much the whole shoe is just lathered with that outsole rubber. So they're trying to boost the durability up in this shoe. Obviously this Nike rubber has got excellent durability, and the grip is pretty good as well. And you'll see in the Peg Plus, so they've just got 2 segments, all the entire forefoot, and heaps of exposed foam here through the middle that actually lets this shoe bend and feel really nice and flexible on the foot, and then just the entirety of the heel in the bottom there. And in our midsole, so again, 2 very different things going on in these 2 shoes. So in the Peg 41, so the foam that they use here is called React X. So it's been upgraded from the previous version, which was just React. So they say this new foam is a little bit more responsive than the last. I'm not too sure of that. I don't really feel like it's more responsive. It certainly feels more dense and more thick, probably a little bit more dead as well. So to liven up this foam, what they've done in this shoe, they've put some air zoom units. So they've got one in the rear and one in the front. And you can actually feel these air zoom units, well, you certainly can feel the one in the forefoot. It feels a bit lumpy for me under the forefoot. There's no carbon plate or anything in the shoe, so there's a little bit of flexibility there. Now in the geometry, very traditional geometry here, old school running shoe feel. And in the Peg Plus here, so the foam they use here is their super foam, their premium foam, that Zoom X. So they use that in all their race day shoes. So that probably warrants that big price jump in this shoe over the 41. But again, this shoe doesn't have a carbon plate in it. It's got no air zoom units in it. It's just that one big slab of Zoom X. And yeah, this shoe is really, really flexible, as you can see there. And that's certainly helped by that no outsole rubber in that middle part of the shoe as well. So it just adds to the flexibility of this shoe. Now, geometry-wise, again, this has probably got a little bit more rocket shape than the Peg 41, but overall, compared to other shoes on the market, it still feels like a pretty traditional ride. And in our ride, so these 2 shoes couldn't feel any different. So for me, they are absolutely night and day. So with the Peg 41, first word that's coming to mind is road feel. Yeah, really close to the road you feel here, especially through the forefoot. And the shoe for me pushes me onto the forefoot to take most of the brunt of the force because the offset is just so high. So yeah, it's very firm under the forefoot. You do get a little bit of squish and a little bit of bounce through the rear, but for me, it just pretty much pushes me down on the forefoot really abruptly, and it's quite harsh, this ride for me. I don't really enjoy it. I don't really find much pop or much responsiveness out of it. There's not much energy return. It feels, if anything, maybe a little bit dead. So if there is any life in this shoe, it is through the heel. So if you're a really heavy heel striker, you might get a bit of bounce out of it. But for me, I don't get much out of it whatsoever. It's pretty stable though, and I will give it a plus in the flexibility department. So when you actually run in this shoe, it's got some good flex sort of there under the toes, and it does feel quite natural to run in. And in the Peg Plus, so you're going to get the exact opposite feeling. So first words coming to mind here is soft. So it's bouncy, it's fun, it's enjoyable. As I said, this really flexible midsole here just makes you feel really natural to run in. Yeah, it really is an enjoyable shoe. One downside though to the right of this, it feels like this foam can be too soft and there's not enough stack height, and I feel like I'm bottoming out in this shoe just a little bit. But overall, this is an amazing ride where this shoe is not so. And best shoes for both these 2 shoes, so with the Peg 41, I don't think this is your everyday daily trainer that you're going to just slog the miles in, because I think the ride's just a bit too harsh. I think it's okay for 1 or 2 runs during the week, shorter runs. It's also going to be okay. So if you go to the gym and you do your gym workout and then you do, say, half an hour on the treadmill, I think this one is going to be fine for that as well. Yeah, it's a bit of a do-it-all shoe, so you can also, like, if you're on your feet all day and you're going to play with your kids or you're going to go out to the shops or anything, I think the Peg is going to be fine for that, but I don't really think it's a dedicated running shoe that you want in your rotation. Whereas the Peg Plus, for me, this one is just an exciting, lightweight daily trainer for me. So it's going to eat up your daily miles, it's going to be fun for that, and it's going to be able to handle your a couple of workouts as well, so your tempo workouts, even some fartleks and stuff. So if you've got a little bit of speed injected in your run, now this one's going to be fine. I think this one does have limitations though. I'd probably only run in it up to 90 minutes. I think there's probably not enough midsole foam for me to go past 90 minutes, because I think it's just going to bottom out far too easy. And just wrapping up the comparison between these 2 shoes, so what are you after in your next shoe? Are you after a dedicated running shoe? If you are, there's only one option here, so you pay the extra money and you get the Pegasus Plus. So this one is going to serve anyone's rotation really, really well. It's really going to assist your running and make your running fun. But if you aren't really run orientated or your goals aren't through running and you want a shoe that can do a few things, so you want to take the shoe to the gym and maybe a park run on the weekend, then this shoe will be fine for that. But if you are more of a dedicated runner, you want to run every day, you're looking for a daily trainer, I would not be looking at this shoe, I would be looking at this shoe. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Interested to hear your thoughts on my comparison between these two shoes. If you've got any questions, please just drop that in the comments below. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.